no motherfucking rap shit by no nigga in my shop with, bro, I don't give a fuck about the Asian man you hanging with. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to my shop and nothing to my partner. Honeykomb, Brazy, you say, are we real bloods? You know what real bloods do? Call somebody from California so they can tell you what real bloods do. This is what real bloods do. We box. We get on the hands in the grass. You say, oh, we real bloods? Honeykomb, Brazy, if you do not want to box, you not no real bloods, so don't bring me up in that shit.
I don't know what these niggas on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit crazy, though. Then I'm like, everybody weird. Like, I'm like, bro, I've been through some real shit in life. You can't just tell me. You can't hit no nigga phone and tell a nigga I'm finna pay you to stop hanging around Honeykomb. Man, you gotta give me every... Matter of fact, bitch, I'm not even finna pay a nigga. Man, I wanna smack you on the screen. Down my grandma. I'll make y'all kill me up this whole in Houston. Bro, I will make y'all murder me today.
Y'all, somebody is dead and somebody else is sitting in a federal prison right now. And the streets are connecting dots that the blogs don't even know how to spell yet. This ain't rap beef anymore. This is real life catching up to real rappers in real time, and the body count around this situation keeps climbing. We're talking about Honeykomb Brazy and Sauce Walka, two of the most unfiltered, unapologetic street rappers alive, and their beef just crossed a line that you cannot uncross. A man is in the ground. Another man got shot in broad daylight. Federal agents are involved, and both of these men have been living on the edge of a knife so long they forgot what solid ground feels like. Sauce Walka, March 22nd, 2025, broad daylight, downtown Memphis, Tennessee, right outside the Westin Hotel. Two men jump out of a white car and open fire. His artist Say So P, real name Latorian Hunt, 27 years old, dies on the pavement. Sauce catches one in the thigh. The whole block goes crazy. Police everywhere, sirens, blood on the concrete. And Memphis PD calls it a targeted incident, meaning this was not random. Somebody wanted them there. Somebody planned this. Honeykomb Brazy, December 2023, pulled over on Interstate 65 near Mobile, Alabama. A Smith & Wesson AR pistol within arm's reach. Federal agents already watching him. FBI already on him for years. He pleads guilty in July 2024. Federal gun charge. A felon in possession of a firearm. The judge set sentencing for October. 2.5 to 3.5 years. Back behind the wall again. Two rappers, two different cities, two different situations, but one interconnected web of street politics, social media beefs, gang affiliations, loyalty codes, and consequences that have been building since at least 2021. And the chickens have come home to roost in the most devastating way possible. Y'all need to hear this, because the mainstream media is only giving you half the story. They'll tell you Sauce Walka got shot in Memphis. They'll tell you Honeykomb Brazy got a federal charge. What they won't do is break down the timeline, connect the players, and show you exactly how we got here. That's what we do. So lock in, fam. This one goes deep. Let me start with Honeykomb Brazy, because if you don't know who this man is, you need to understand something first. This is not a rapper who made up a street image. This is a man the streets made, broke, rebuilt, and then tried to destroy again. Born Nashon Jones in Mobile, Alabama, September 15, 1993. Mobile ain't a city that gets a lot of shine in the rap conversation. People talk about Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, New York. Nobody's putting Mobile on the board. But the streets in Mobile, they are as real as it gets. Gang activity is deep there. Bloods, Crips, and local sets that don't answer to nobody. And Honeykomb grew up right in the thick of it, specifically in the Happy Hills neighborhood, formerly known as Africatown. One of the most historically significant and simultaneously most overlooked communities in Black America. His father, a crime boss, in prison, his mother, also incarcerated. So Honeykomb was raised by his aunt and his grandparents, Tony and Layla Lewis, two people who would later become central to the most heartbreaking chapter of his entire story. We'll get to that. At 13 years old, 13, his own father, calling from behind bars, directed him to shoot his cousin over stolen money. The cousin was left paralyzed. Honeykomb went on the run, a child, living on the streets, fending for himself. By the time he was in his early 20s, he'd already been through 2 stints in prison, a second-degree murder charge that was later dropped. Robbery, assault, drugs, guns, all of it.
He's in prison today. Brazy, his real name is Nashon Jones, pleaded guilty in July to possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The gun wasn't his, but it was within reach in the vehicle he was riding in that got pulled over in December of 2023. 2 armed men in that vehicle who were hired to provide security admitted they were prohibited from having guns. Jones' attorney says his client's grandparents died in 2021 when gunmen fired into their house and sparked an explosion, and that Jones has faced constant violent threats.
The streets of Mobile took everything from him and gave him a worldview that you cannot manufacture in a studio. He became a rapper not because it was a hobby. He became a rapper because it was his only way out of the trap, and he was honest about that in every song he made. His 2018 track Freestyle went viral. The music video hit millions of views. And just like that, Mobile, Alabama had a rap star. By 2020, Jay Prince, the legend himself, head of Rap-A-Lot Records, signed Honeykomb Brazy. That's not a small deal. Rap-A-Lot is the house that Scarface built. That label has history. That means somebody with real discernment looked at this young man and said, this is the real thing. But here's the thing about Honeykomb Brazy. His music never let him escape the streets, because the streets never stopped coming for him. Now let's talk about Sauce Walka. Albert Walker Mundane. Born June 29, 1990 in Houston, Texas. South Park, Southwest Houston. Areas that have their own rules, their own codes, their own culture. If you know anything about Houston rap, you know it comes from a place of deep pride. This is the city of DJ Screw, Scarface, UGK, Pimp C. Houston doesn't chase trends. Houston sets them. And Sauce Walka grew up absorbing all of that. He started rapping in 2007 under the name A-Walk, repping a Houston rap group called Most Hard. By 2014, he rebranded as Sauce Walka, formed the Sauce Twins with his partner Sancho Saucy, and launched the Sauce Factory, his own independent record label. He dropped mixtapes back-to-back, built a loyal fan base through pure authenticity, and carved out a lane in Houston's rap scene that was entirely his own. And then, in 2015, he did something that put him on the national radar. He beefed with Drake. Not a subliminal, not a Twitter reply, a full diss track, Whack to Whack, over Drake's back-to-back instrumental, accusing Drake of coming to Houston Appreciation Weekend, exploiting the city's culture, and not giving anything real back. He said Drake was appropriating the sound without showing genuine love to the people who built it. The internet went crazy. Sauce Walka went from regional rapper to a name people outside of Houston were actually saying out loud. But Sauce Walka never pretended to be something soft. In 2009, he was charged with deadly conduct after shooting and wounding a person at a concert hosted by Trey Thought Truth at Texas Southern University. He pled guilty, served community supervision.
A community rally and concert on the campus of Texas Southern University in Houston ended in bloodshed Wednesday night following a drive-by shooting that police believe was gang-related. The school says 6 people were shot and have been treated for serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Witnesses tell police that one car drove by and opened fire on a parking lot where a popular Houston rapper was promoting community service and voter registration.
By 2018, Texas state court documents described the Sauce Factory as a documented gang known for criminal activity. Sauce Walka pushed back on that publicly, said it's a record label, not a gang.
He is a bona fide rap sensation with millions of views for his music videos. But investigators say this group known as the Sauce Factory is a documented gang. The group's name even mentioned as part of a recent federal court case involving sex trafficking. Channel 2 Investigates began digging into the Sauce Factory back in July. Tonight, investigator Robert Arnold talks with the Sauce Factory's leader, who is responding to the allegations.
But the streets knew what time it was, and law enforcement was paying attention. This man had Sauce tattooed across his forehead. He made no apologies. His whole brand was built on being unfiltered and unafraid. 2 different cities, 2 different styles, but the same energy. Keep it real, no matter what it costs you. By 2021, both of these guys were living in very turbulent waters. And this is when the paths between Honeykomb Brazy and Sauce Walka started crossing in a way that turned into real friction. November 2020, Honeykomb Brazy is on Instagram Live, just kicking it with fans, when shots ring out, on camera, live. He gets hit. The whole internet watches it happen in real time. This man had already been shot multiple times over the course of his life. This was not a new thing for him, but watching it happen live, that shook people, because it proved something. The danger around this man was not a performance, it was constant.
We said we would get up to about 150, 200, we're gonna run it.
Right, before the show,
For the show, man. Y'all already know. Y'all know how money bag yo need that shit, man. Y'all know what's going on, man. I swear that.
Then, February 17th, 2021, the worst night of Honeykomb Brazy's life, and I want to make sure y'all understand what actually happened here, because the details are critical. Honeykomb had a beef with a man named Darren Southall, an accused drug kingpin out of Mobile. That beef started years earlier when Honeykomb shot and killed a man named Ladarius Moore in 2016. Moore had kicked down a door to confront Honeykomb over a woman. His own girlfriend had been sleeping with Honeykomb. Moore came to confront him. Things went left. Honeykomb shot him. The murder charge was eventually dropped because of the circumstances, but that didn't matter to Darren Southall, Moore's uncle. That man wanted blood in return. Now around the same time, Honeykomb's associate, fellow Alabama rapper OMB Peasy, posted something on Facebook that disrespected Southall's crew. Peasy and Honeykomb were both unreachable at the time. So Southall sent 3 men, Terrence Watkins, Jamarcus Chambers, and Patrick Lewis, to the one place he knew would hurt Honeykomb the most, his grandparents' home on Dr. Thomas Avenue. At approximately the same time Honeykomb was watching on a video call, those 3 men pulled up. They opened fire inside the house. Tony Lewis, 62 years old, Honeykomb's grandfather, was struck multiple times and died from gunshot wounds. Layla Lewis, 68, his grandmother, had COVID-19 and was on an oxygen tank. When the bullets hit those oxygen tanks, the whole house exploded. She burned to death. The blaze took out a nearby house too. Federal investigators had already been tapping Southall's phone. The recordings of them planning this attack? A detective testified in court that the recordings were sickening. Assistant District Attorney Lewis Walker said in court, the home was a target because it would hurt Jones. Let me say that again. They killed 2 elderly people, grandparents, because they knew it would hurt Honeykomb. They couldn't get to him, so they went after the people who raised him.
Lord, I hope ain't nobody up in that house.
A February night of horror caught on camera. Innocent grandparents Tony and Layla Lewis found dead inside their burned-out Happy Hills home. Mobile investigators say Tony was shot to death before his house was set on fire. Their murders said to be retaliation for some beef their grandson and local rapper Honeykomb Brazy had with a rival group. For 3 months, Fox News has continued to ask Mobile police for any leads in the unsolved case. And new tonight, Mobile's Chief of Staff James Barber with a big one. He tells me this man, Darren Southall, is a person of interest in the Lewis murders. A law enforcement source adding to that, telling me investigators believe it may have been a murder for hire. Southall is a dangerous man, according to Barber, and his rap sheet backs that up. He's been in and out of Mobile and Baldwin County jails since the 90s. He's currently accused by the feds of being head of a multi-million-dollar Gulf Coast drug ring that sold crack and powder cocaine, fentanyl, and other drugs.
They wanted him to feel it. Honeykomb took to Instagram immediately. Long live Grandma and Grandpa, y'all was my heart for real. I put y'all in every song. I hate y'all got caught up in my street. This street hurt. I beg y'all to let me move y'all every day, but y'all taught me how to be a stand-up guy. He said his grandparents were on oxygen tanks. He clarified they didn't die from the fire. They died because the gunfire caused the tanks to explode. And then in June 2021, his mother's house was shot up in the night. His mother wasn't home, but the message was clear. The war on Honeykomb's family was not over. Now here's where Sauce Walka enters the frame in a way that had the blogs talking. November 2021. Honeykomb is going through arguably the worst stretch of his life. Grandparents killed, mother's house shot up, back in prison for parole violations, watching life fall apart from behind bars. And Sauce Walka, along with another rapper named Omni and a Hellcat, had words directed at Honeykomb's situation. The internet picked it up immediately. Videos went viral. Now I'm not gonna make this something it ain't. There's layers here that the streets understand better than the internet does. When a man is locked up, can't defend himself publicly, and other rappers choose that moment to have words, that's a statement. That tells you where people's loyalty stands. That tells you about respect, or the lack of it. And in the world both of these men live in, perception is everything. It's currency, it's protection. And when your perception takes a hit while you're in a cell, you feel that, you remember that. Sauce Walka has never been the type to sugarcoat anything. He speaks his mind publicly, loudly, and without hesitation. That's part of who he is. It's what made him famous. But in the world of street politics, timing matters. And the timing of those words in November 2021, with Honeykomb at his lowest, was noted. Fast forward, November 2023, Honeykomb Brazy is released from prison after serving time on parole violations. He came out ready. He came out talking. He came out making music. He'd survived the worst period of his life, watched his people fall, and was back on his feet, or so it seemed. The streets were celebrating his release. Rap-A-Lot had moved on during his absence, bringing in Finesse 2 times. So now Honeykomb was back with something to prove. Beefs multiplying from multiple directions. Finesse 2 times, old enemies in mobile, new critics online, and he was responding to all of it at maximum volume. December 18th, 2023, a Mobile County Sheriff's deputy serving on a federal task force pulls over a 2022 Cadillac Escalade on Interstate 65 near the General W.K. Wilson Bridge. The windows are too tinted. The car lingered too long in the passing lane. Routine stop. Except nothing about Honeykomb Brazy is routine. Agents search the vehicle. They find a Smith & Wesson MP-15AR pistol within immediate reach. Honeykomb is a convicted felon. Felons cannot possess firearms. He's taken into custody immediately. Here's the part that made people stop and read twice. Special Agent Evan Fisher testified in federal court that the FBI knew Honeykomb was out and about prior to that traffic stop. When asked why they were watching him, Fisher declined to expand, but he did say this: Honeykomb Brazy had been the subject of multiple investigations for years. The feds weren't stumbling across Honeykomb, they were on him. The traffic stop wasn't random, they were waiting. July 25th, 2024. Honeykomb Brazy pleads guilty in federal court, felon in possession of a firearm. Under the plea deal, prosecutors and defense agreed to jointly recommend a sentence between 2.5 to 3.5 years. U.S. District Judge Christy DuBose set sentencing for October 25th, just like that, back behind the wall. The man who got out in November 2023 was going back in less than a year later. Now let's talk about what happened in Memphis. March 22nd, 2025, Saturday afternoon. Sauce Walka and his artist Saiso P. Latorian Hunt are in downtown Memphis, outside the Westin Hotel on Lieutenant George W. Lee Avenue. It's broad daylight, there are people around. Normal Saturday city activity. Just before 2:45 p.m., a white car pulls up. 2 men get out. They open fire directly at Sauce Walka and Saiso P. It's not ambiguous. It's not random. Memphis PD's own Assistant Chief Don Crow confirmed this was a targeted incident. The victims and suspects know one another. Saiso P doesn't make it. Latorian Hunt, 27 years old, dies at the scene. Sauce Walka catches a bullet in the thigh. He's transported to Regional 1 Hospital in non-critical condition. His father, Papa Sauce, goes on camera to tell the city his son is coherent and expected to survive. Sauce Walka posts from the hospital. He's alive. 2 suspects are identified. Jaden Dandridge, 21 years old. Kevin Brown, 22 years old. Memphis police release footage, issue warrants, and then this. Jaden Dandridge is found dead in Houston, Texas, the very city Sauce Walka is from. The suspect who shot Sauce Walka turns up dead in Houston before he can even face trial. Memphis PD cancels his warrant. Dead men don't go to court. The second suspect, Kevin Brown, stays on the run for months. U.S. Marshals finally catch him in Clarksville, Tennessee in October 2025. He's charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. The case is still moving through the courts. Let me put a pin in something real quick. Jaden Dandridge, one of the men who shot Sauce Walka, ends up dead in Houston. Now, nobody's officially connecting any dots for the public. Police haven't made an official statement linking those 2 events. But the streets don't need a press release to understand what that means. Somebody moved, somebody settled something, and it got handled in the very city where Sauce Walka built his empire. Let me break this all the way down for y'all, because there are layers here that don't get talked about enough. Both Honeykomb Brazy and Sauce Walka have something in common that goes beyond music. Both of them have been categorized by law enforcement as being embedded in documented criminal activity. Not as a narrative, not as a rap persona, but in actual court documents and federal filings. Sauce Walka's record label was described in Texas state court documents as a documented gang. Honeykomb's entire career has been shadowed by FBI surveillance. These are not allegations being thrown around by blogs. These are things that came out in courtrooms under oath by officers and federal agents. That context matters when we look at the beef between them, because this isn't just 2 rappers going back and forth on Instagram Live. When men who operate in these kinds of circles have friction, the stakes are different. The resolution doesn't come through a mediator and a handshake. History shows us that. Now think about the timing of Sauce Walka's words toward Honeykomb in November 2021. Honeykomb is at his absolute lowest. His grandparents were murdered in February. His mother's house was shot up in June. He's back in prison for parole violations. He's watching Rap-A-Lot. the label he was signed to, starts shifting its resources. He's dealing with grief that most people can't comprehend. And in that window, Sauce Walka and Omni N.A. Hellcat chose to step on his name publicly. In the street code, that's a calculated move. It either comes from genuine disrespect, from a pre-existing grievance, or from an attempt to cement status at someone else's expense. When Honeykomb gets out and starts talking, he's not gonna forget that. Men like Honeykomb Brazy keep receipts. They don't forget who said what when they were down. Here's another layer that people sleep on. Sauce Walka has been vocal, fearless, and confrontational his entire career. That's his brand. He went after Drake when Drake was the biggest artist on the planet. He talked his talk against 21 Savage. He has words for everybody and he doesn't back down. That same energy that built his career is also the energy that makes him a target. When you speak with the authority that Sauce Walka speaks with, people test that authority. People want to see if you actually stand behind what you say. And then there's the streets of Houston to consider. Sauce Walka built his name in a city with its own dangerous undercurrents. The Sauce Factory had already been flagged by Texas state authorities as having gang ties. His artist Say So P was killed in Memphis in what police confirmed was a targeted hit, not random violence. Somebody planned that, somebody wanted that outcome, and one of the shooters ends up dead in Houston before he can even face charges. The internet wants to make this about bars and social media. The streets know this is about something that started way before any camera was rolling. Here's where we are right now. Sauce Walka survived. He came out of that Memphis hospital and got back to living at a pace that shocked everybody. Less than 2 weeks after getting shot in the thigh, the man is performing in a wheelchair at a concert, on stage, in front of thousands of people. That video went viral for obvious reasons, because that kind of stubbornness, that refusal to let violence pause your life, that's a very specific kind of energy. Some people called it inspiring, others called it reckless, the streets called it real. But Say So P is gone. Latorian Hunt, 27 years old, was not just Sauce Walka's artist. He was somebody's son, somebody's friend, another young black man from the South whose life ended before it was supposed to, in a parking lot in Memphis in broad daylight. And the blogs will give him 3 days of coverage before moving on to the next story. The family won't get to move on that fast. Honeykomb Brazy is locked up again. The same man who watched his grandparents die on a video call, had his mother's house shot up, lost his label deal, came home and immediately got caught with a federal weapon, is now counting days again behind a wall. His RN4L gang, Real No-Outs for Life, is still out there. His music is still streaming. His name is still ringing in the streets of Mobile and across the internet. But the man himself, he's not free. And the beef? The internet wants closure. They want somebody to officially say what this beef is about, who started it, who's winning, but that's not how this works. Real beefs don't have press releases. Real beefs don't get resolved in interviews. And when both sides of a beef are dealing with federal charges, shootings, deaths, and ongoing investigations, the beef takes on a life that is completely separate from anything either man intended. There are people in this story who are not rappers, people who don't have Instagram accounts or YouTube channels, people who move in the background and make decisions that put bodies on the pavement. Those people don't care about the music, they care about the code, and the code says that when someone disrespects you, there is a response. When someone from your circle gets touched, there is a response. When someone talks while you're locked up and can't respond, you remember, and eventually you respond. The streets have been talking about this situation for years. Now the bodies are making. Let me keep it completely 100 with y'all for a sec. We are watching a pattern that hip-hop keeps refusing to name out loud. Two of the most authentic, unfiltered street rappers of their generation. Men who built careers on saying exactly what they mean, on being real when everything around them is fake. And both of their lives are defined by violence, federal charges, and body counts in their circles. Not because they're bad people, but because the environment that made them who they are doesn't negotiate. It doesn't give hall passes because you went platinum, or because Jay Prince signed you, or because you run an independent label with your own artist roster. The streets don't care about your discography. Honeykomb Brazy made music that resonated because every word was true. He rapped about watching people die. He rapped about prison. He rapped about loyalty and betrayal and grief. And then he lived every single one of those topics on camera, in court documents, and in real time on social media. His grandparents were murdered because of a Facebook post. His grandparents. That's not a metaphor for street danger. That's street danger consuming the most innocent people in a man's life. And even that level of tragedy wasn't enough to break the cycle. Sauce Walka built a brand on having no filter, on speaking with authority, on never backing down. He dissed the biggest rapper alive and didn't flinch. He ran from police at 130 miles per hour on a Houston highway and then performed at a concert the next night. He got shot in Memphis and was back on a wheelchair at a concert stage weeks later. The man does not stand down, ever. And that refusal to stand down, that is both what makes him legendary and what makes him a consistent target. Because in the game he's playing, the stakes have no ceiling. Now here's the bigger picture question, the one nobody in hip-hop wants to answer honestly. When does it stop? Because the talent is there, the authenticity is there. Both of these men have real gifts, real audiences, real influence. Honeykomb Brazy could have been a top-tier artist with a long career if the streets and the courts would let him breathe. Sauce Walka has the work ethic of someone who genuinely loves music. He dropped 6 albums in a single year. These are not lazy men. These are not men with nothing to offer. The culture loves to celebrate them while they're in the storm. Everybody claps when Sauce Walka gets back on that wheelchair stage. Everybody shares the clips of Honeycomb going off in interviews. The energy, the realness, the no-filter truth-telling. We celebrate all of it. And then when the consequences hit, we move on to the next story. We don't ask why a 27-year-old named Say So P had to die outside a Memphis hotel. We don't sit with the image of Honeycomb watching his grandparents' house burn on a video call. We consume the drama and we click away. And the cycle keeps running because nobody ever actually breaks it. This beef between Honeykomb Brazy and Sauce Walka is not just two rappers with an issue. It's a window into something much larger, into what happens when talented men come from environments that have never had systems designed to protect them, into what happens when authenticity and street politics collide, into what happens when the music stops and the real world takes over. Somebody's artist is dead. Somebody is back in federal prison. One of the alleged shooters turned up dead in a city neither of these men are from. And the other one ran for months before U.S. Marshals caught him in another state. There are still unanswered questions. There are still people walking around who know exactly what happened and exactly why. And until those questions get answered officially, if they ever do, the streets will keep writing their own version of events. Real recognize real. And both of these men are real in ways that the industry has never been able to fully contain. That's the tragedy. That's the thing we need to sit with. The Honeykomb and Sauce Walka beef just got deadly, and nobody can tell you right now where it ends. What I can tell you is this: the people around them are the ones paying the highest price. They always are. Drop your thoughts in the comments, gang. You already know the deal. Like, subscribe. Share this with somebody who needs to understand what's really going on in these streets. And for real, stay safe out there, because this ain't no game.